I have never spoken about this before. Not to friends, not to family, not even to myself when the memories clawed their way into my dreams. It is one of those things you bury so deep inside, you almost convince yourself it never happened. Almost. But the smell of damp wood, the sound of floorboards groaning at night, and the shape I saw when I was 8 years old will never leave me. It began when my parents bought the house. We weren't rich. Far from it. My father had just lost his job at the factory, and my mother was stitching clothes for neighbors to keep us afloat. The house was cheap, too cheap, and my parents jumped at it. To me, at 8, it looked huge. 2 floors, a garden thick with weeds, and an attic that my father said would one day make the perfect bedroom. But the house had a heaviness about it. Even in daylight, the rooms felt dim, as though shadows were stitched into the walls. My first memory, there was a stepping into the hallway and seeing a child's drawing pinned to the peeling wallpaper. Stick figures. A family of 4. None of us had drawn it. My mother tore it down and laughed awkwardly, saying it must have been left by the previous owners. But the paper smelled strange, damp and sweet, like rotting fruit. The strangeness began small. At night, I heard scratching the walls. My father told me it was rats, though he never caught any. Doors creaked open on their own. Toys I was sure I'd left in one place turned up in another. But it was the attic that unsettled me most. The door to the attic was at the end of the upstairs hallway, a thin wooden frame with a rusty latch. My father kept it locked, saying the floorboards weren't safe yet. But sometimes in the dead of night, I heard something moving above us. Slow, deliberate footsteps. Too heavy for rats. Too patient for wind. One night, curiosity won. I crept out of bed, careful not to wake my sister, who slept across the room. The hallway was icy, the kind of cold that sinks into your teeth. I padded to the attic door and pressed my ear to it. Silence. Then tap, 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 like fingers against wood from the other side. I bolted back to bed, burying my head under the blanket, heart hammering. The next morning, I told my mother. She brushed my hair, smiled, and said, "It's an old house, darling. It makes noises." But her hand shook slightly as she tied my ribbons, and I noticed she avoided looking at the attic door all day. Weeks passed. The house grew heavier, as though it was pressing against us. My father started drinking more. My mother grew pale and withdrawn, and I began seeing him. At first, it was only shadows, a tall figure lingering at the end of the hall, vanishing when I blinked. Then it grew bolder. One night, I woke to the sound of humming, a low, tuneless murmur rising from under the floorboards. I sat up, clutching my blanket, listening as it grew louder, circling my bed. My sister slept soundly, undisturbed. And then I saw him. At the far corner of the room, half hidden in the gloom, stood a man. His body was thin, bones pressing against skin like sticks beneath cloth. His head was tilted too far to the side, as though his neck had snapped. And though the room was dark, I saw his mouth, wide, smiling. I couldn't scream. My throat closed. My bladder nearly gave way as I hid on the blanket, trembling until exhaustion dragged me into unconsciousness. In the morning, nothing remained. But on the floorboards where he had stood, small black footprints stained the wood. I begged my parents to move. My father only laughed, saying children had wild imaginations. But my mother's eyes told me she believed. She started sleeping with the hallway light on. The figure came again and again, always at night, always smiling. Sometimes at the foot of my bed, sometimes reflected faintly in the mirror, even when the room was empty. Once, I saw him stand behind my mother as she brushed her hair, though she didn't react. His hands hovered above her shoulders as though about to rest there, before melting into the dark. I stopped sleeping. My grades slipped. Teachers asked if something was wrong, but I could never explain. How could I? The breaking point came one stormy night. Rain hammered the windows. Wind howled through the cracks. I woke to the creak of the attic door opening. Slowly, painfully, the latch gave way. I heard the steps. Not in the attic now, but on the stairs. One by one, deliberate and heavy, the sound of something dragging against the banister. I shook my sister awake, whispering, "He's coming." But she only grumbled, rolled over, and pulled the blanket higher. The steps stopped outside our door. I held my breath. The handle turned. The door inched open. And there he was, the same thin figure, head lolling, mouth stretched wide in that awful grin. His eyes were pits of black, swallowing the light. He stepped into the room, and the air grew thick, choking. I screamed. At last, the sound tore free, shrill and desperate. My parents burst moments later, the lights flooding the room. The figure was gone, but the door frame bore fresh scratches, deep gouges, as though something with claws had clung there. My parents tried to explain it away, but my mother's face betrayed her terror. That night, she made us all sleep in the same room. She locked the attic door and hammered nails into it. It didn't help. The figure came again, bolder. Shadows stretched unnaturally across the walls, forming his outline. The scratching in the attic turned into pounding, as if something was trying to break free. And the humming never stopped. I was 8 years old, and I knew, whatever lived in that house, whatever had been waiting in that attic, it wanted me. That was only the beginning.